All right, we are live. Welcome back in another edition of our JBDragon podcast. Fun name that Jazz gave us. We like it. Locker room access show here. You know me, Josh. You know Demont Dragon here with us. It's a very special guest this week. We got Jake Malasek coming in from Barstool, UVA lacrosse alum. For those that may not know.
And thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course, Jake. We were super pumped that you agreed to come on, man. This was awesome for us. So thanks for taking the time to do this.
Yeah, anybody who's a UVA football fan is I'm a fan of them as well. So I'm happy to do this and happy to be here.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Got a T-Dub.
Oh, that's my guy. Hell yeah.
I didn't even know T-Dub's watched us.
The about TW is he basically was one of my first guys that ever sort of asked me to do anything video related. So I started out kind of just doing it on my own, and the LRI guys, Ty Jerome's dad, Mark, and TW were some of the first guys to ever sort of bring me in to do a project that was not just on my own. So I owe them a lot, and I stay in touch with those guys, and I'm big fans of theirs.
No doubt. Yeah. No. Love T-Dub. Love Marky. Yeah.
Dougie Fresh.
You got T-Dub actually been watching. Yeah, Fresh is Uncle Fresh is my guy. That's my brother right there.
Boy, love that.
Yeah, it's about that time again, too. Honestly, I haven't talked to Mark in a while, so I'm excited for basketball to start. But we won't go too deep into that, guys. We're going to jump right in with what has truthfully been the season of dreams, at least for me. Virginia football, 7-1 at this point, still undefeated in ACC play. And it's starting to actually shake out to where there's scenarios where they could even potentially drop a game and still make the ACC championship. So anybody that wants to read a little deeper into that, there's in the game thread for UNC on our forum page, somebody broke it down and had all the scenarios, but there's actual paths now to where that this could happen. So I don't know how you're feeling, Jake. I mean, for us, obviously, we have enjoyed every minute because we've been doing this since I think week 2 was our first official show, but we did a preseason show before that.
We did a preseason show, but week 2 is when we
got the we were both kind of at like 8 wins. Maybe they could get to 9 was what we were thinking. So to be 7-1 at this point with actual real aspirations is insane. How are you feeling so far?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about TW and Mark Jerome and Dougie Fresh. Like, it's the least I've thought about UVA basketball in years because the football team is still relevant and winning in October. So that's a weird feeling. It's been unbelievable. I was talking to somebody else. I was like, I'm just going to keep riding this high until something goes wrong, which, again, are we probably winning the national championship? Most likely not. But until that train stops moving, I'm having the best time ever. We have somehow been pulling out games and wins that we never win. I think that's been the biggest difference this year for this team. Like the Washington State game, the UNC game, even the Louisville game, like those are 3 games that UVA football loses every year. So the fact that they can pull these out gives me a lot of hope that the rest of the season they can kind of continue to do this and make an ACC championship game, potentially steal a playoff spot, stuff like that. But so far the season's been something I've been begging for and I'm not taking for granted in the slightest.
Yeah, I mean, I echo everything you just said 100%. It's one of those things where I feel like for the last 2 or 3 seasons especially, we've watched so many games. It's like, oh man, that's just a bad break. We're 1 score away. How many times the last 2 years has Tony Elliott been 1 play, 1 score away from this team being 7-4 instead of 4-7? And this year those breaks are starting to go their way. And I think a lot of that has to do with attitude and swagger and just actual talent on the field, of course. But it's a weird place to be that this team's at 7 wins, and to think almost any one of us would have taken that if you asked us that in August. And now if we were to just stay at this, we'd be like, this is a disaster of a year, which is crazy. But, I've always said, if you're new to this show, I've always said, like, I just want a team where I feel like they have a chance to win every week. Make us a 7-win team plus minus 7.5 every year. Give me a shot going into Scott Stadium every Saturday. Occasional 9-win season. That's all I want for my program. And that's where we're sitting and we're living it. And I'm right there with you. I'm just like, let's roll the ball out every Saturday, see where we end up in 4 weeks from now. And whatever it is, I'm going to be happy with it because this is great. This is great not having to live and die by a blue and white, black and white scrimmage game in October and actually watching a real life game.
Listen, I have people telling me to my face, like, if UVA makes the playoff, they're going to lose by 100 points. And I say, I want you to run that sentence back one more time and then stop it at a certain word. You're just saying if UVA makes the playoff, that's all. Like, we're already well above expectation with that sentence alone. I'm getting ESPN notifications being like, Virginia might, regret that loss to NC State in the playoff conversation. I said, UVA and playoff are on the notification on my phone at the same time, talking about it in a cool, fun, actual way. So this is all I've asked for. To your point, exactly right. 8-4 with the occasional 9, the occasional 6, like anything above 6 consistently, and we're happy. We're having a good time. This has been above and beyond from Tony Elliott and staff. I will never, ever, ever be upset at a year like this.
Yeah. I think that's. Oh, go ahead, Jay.
Go ahead, Josh. Get him.
No, I think that's kind of how most everybody in the fan base feels, right? Like we've been so invested in essentially being a basketball school. I mean, that just we had one of the greatest coaches. We had the era with Ralph, and obviously the greatness then too. We've had other runs, in the '90s. If we had fresh one, we could talk about it all night about different times that Virginia has been a good, very good basketball team. And with the football history, it's kind of not so much. I mean, yeah, they were number 1 at one point for a couple weeks. They've had some big time moments like beating Florida State a few times now, different things like that. But to actually like have something that, usually we're just saying like, get us to November. Like, let's just have something to care about until basketball starts. Now for that to actually be like, oh, wait a minute, we might really care about this in December, like beyond just, oh, what day are we playing over the holidays? Like this might actually be a big deal. It's pretty refreshing. And it's, honestly, I went with this shirt tonight because they've had so many close games that I feel like at this point I just have to believe that they're going to keep pulling these things out. Like it's just been such a wild stretch. But like you said, Jake, I mean, they're doing something we're not used to, right? Like this team it's turned a corner and it's turned it hard. I mean, they did have the last second loss to NC State, and that was a play that everybody wishes we could have back clearly, with the interception. But, man, have they turned it around after that. I mean, you couldn't finish games out better than they have. Now, how they get there, maybe we have some questions about and things like that. But when it comes to crunch time, I don't think there's been a more clutch team this year.
For sure. I give a lot of credit to the new facilities for this turnaround. I mean, when I was with the lacrosse team, like we used to work out in the McHugh Center, and I can't believe a single person committed to the football team after seeing it was the biggest joke disaster of a facility. And the fact that those guys were able to recruit with that is like, they should get an award every year for that. So, I've been to the new facility. It's phenomenal. And I've kind of gotten to tour around with my job now to different places. And obviously the Georgias of the world and the Ohio States of the world, they have top-notch facilities. But UVA now with that new facility has nothing kind of holding them back in terms of the greater college football landscape. Like the McHugh Center was a joke. You could fit maybe 2 position groups at a time in the weight room. And now you can have full team lifts and you have this whole, everything is together. It's all brand new. So that I think has been a major factor. Obviously the money too, but the new facility, I think has opened a lot of doors for this team to kind of be able to recruit year in and year out and have a sustained success going forward.
Well, it shows you're serious about it. I mean, that's the difference. It's like, I'm older than you. I came through in the era of the McHugh Center when that was a thing. I graduated college 20 years ago.
Right.
It's
brutal. It was brutal.
Yeah, and I think they're still treading on that by the time you got there, and they were still treading on that just up to a couple of years ago. It's like you just can't. And I live down here in the SEC world, and I'm same thing. I'm in and out of a lot of these places. I'm like, you just can't. There's apples and oranges. It's not even apples and oranges. It's apples and filet mignon. Like it's what it is. And so it sets and it shows that we're serious. And yes, the money helps as well. It's all those pieces come together. That's what makes a program, and it's showing that there's a commitment. We weren't knee-jerk on getting rid of Elliott too soon. They allowed him to build. He did show improvement slightly on the field. The facilities come, the players come, and all of a sudden, shocker, this guy can coach a little bit. The staff can coach a little bit. If you give them some horses, they can run a little bit. And, sure, schedule breaks the right way for them this year. You still got to go out there and play the game, take advantage of it. But this is the first step in that you see the donors coming in yet again because they're excited about what they see. Are we a poor man's Indiana? Maybe. And that's a lane I'm going to occupy. I will be the Indiana of the ACC. I will occupy that lane and take it gleefully.
100%. I would 100% take that. It's honestly a great name. ACC Indiana in. Yeah. Where do I sign for that?
for sure. I mean, and like you guys said with the money too, I think we touched on this because I think it had just come out Friday when we did the last podcast that there was another, they called it multi-million transformational gift. It was like the fourth one since December. I think we even pulled up the number on it. It said that in those 4 gifts alone, they had raised more money than the entire, I guess, VAF and all donors had raised in the last 8 years before that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's big time stuff that's happening. They're getting invested, and really it didn't take, I mean, a whole lot of seeing. Like, it's crazy to think that they get that kind of money with, I mean, 2 of them I think were last year in December. So coming off of last season and then having the rest done, 8 games in at this point, like, and I guess they were only 7 at that point because it was before the UNC game. Like, it's kind of crazy, but it just shows you what can happen when you have a good team, you have good people, good leaders that people believe in, how quickly things can be turned around.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's been amazing to see. It starts at the top, you can go around for hours about what people think about our AD and how Carl is done, but clearly something's clicking. If the checks are being cashed over and over again, that's an athletic director's job, in my opinion, is to make sure that spigot continues to flow freely. And it is for a program that, quite frankly, had no reason for anyone to invest in 18 months ago. And so there's something there to have that vision and to stick with it and to hold on to it. And so, and now we're seeing it on the field. And, we were having this, Jake, we were having this discussion before you jumped on. What's better for this program at this point? That playoff appearance, just go down to Oxford and maybe have a rough time down there, or go to the Pop-Tart Bowl. And I'm up to what you said earlier, made me think of it. Send me to the playoff. Put us in the playoff. Let us get there. I don't care if we get blown out by 100 down in Oxford. That's fine. You're always going to be the 2025 top 12 team in the country. Playoff, you have that banner. You fly that banner, and every recruit's going to see that banner every time they walk into the facilities. And that just means more than pick a bowl U.
Yeah, it is having the UVA sweatshirt with the College Football Playoff logo on the side.
Yep.
It is having the lit up College Football Playoff logo in the facility. You are a program that is now a possibility of competing for a national championship. That is, I think, the most important reason why this team has to make the playoff, if that is a possibility, is just for those 2 things alone. Having that logo associated with the V-Saber is so much more important than going and getting a Pop-Tart Bowl win that you will forget about in a year. My buddies that went to Indiana at Barstool, they walk around with their playoff logo Indiana sweatshirts. And I'm like, that's the coolest thing of all time. And then now, obviously, right,
they backed it up, but still.
And the whole thing. And they're a very, very good team. Some might even say the best team in the country. But, let's pretend they're a 6-win team this year. That is forever on the shoulder of your hoodie that you went to the playoff that year. So, that's obviously the dream now. I can't believe we're saying that.
Yeah. You know who's rocking that hoodie right now? Every Arizona State Sun Devil fan.
Exactly right. Exactly. And they competed. That's what's awesome. Right. They could have made the Final Four last year. So you never know. You got to get in the big dance. You get a ticket. But, having that logo associated with UVA, it would be so, so, so big, not just for this team, but for, the next 20 years.
Yeah. Agreed.
Until they expand to 30 teams, and then who cares? But for now.
Well, it's our ticket to the SEC in 3 years.
Exactly.
That's it. That's what we had a comment about that. Yeah.
Well, that's courtesy of Jeff Walker.
Jeff's exactly right about that. Yeah. Something that shows we mean to step up if it comes to joining one of the 2 bigger conferences. We'll see where that goes in a few years. I think it's going to be faster than what they're saying, but I don't want to dive too deep into all that and tie everybody up with the boring stuff, talking about maybe situations years down the road. Let's jump right into what they need to do, though. So if we're going to have any type of dream at the playoff, right, we got to take care of business on the field. Really and truthfully, at 7-1, the only way I think they're going to get in if they drop another game is to win the ACC championship. I don't think there's a scenario, even if there is the one where Virginia gets to the ACC championship with 2 losses, that they could then lose that game as well and still get in the playoff. I feel like that's a far fetch. Yeah. But from what we've seen the last few weeks, it's kind of feel like it's teetering a little bit, right? Like I guess, I'm believing in them because they keep pulling it out. But if we're just being honest with ourselves, the play on the field has started to drop off from where it was at the first of the year. And then obviously to now, the yardage is going down every week. The defense, to their credit, is stepping up, playing better. But they're kind of having to bail us out of some situations that we really don't want to be in. Jake, you probably get some pretty good perspectives on the football side of it. Take us through the last couple of weeks of things that you've seen, maybe noticed some things, some issues, I guess would be the best way to put it.
Yeah. Also, to your first point, like I still think the only way UVA makes the playoff is by winning the ACC championship. Like I still don't think that if they go and lose with one loss and then the second loss is to Georgia Tech or whatever it is, I still think they're not an at-large team. Personally, like I just don't think UVA gets in with the committee as the second ACC team. I could see them putting in a one-loss Miami team over UVA, even if we make I genuinely believe the only way they make the playoff is by winning the whole thing. So that's where I'm at with that. The dream is obviously very much alive, and you can still get in with another loss, but you have to win the ACC championship to make the playoff. Secondly, your other point, I do think this is a team, and it has been for years, that plays down to their competition. So like when Florida State came to town and we went to Louisville, I thought we played better than we probably are. And then when we play the teams like Washington State, who are, we're 18-point favorites, we go to UNC, who hasn't beaten a Power 4 team all season. I think that might kind of creep into the brains of these teams or our team. Like when you watch Indiana play UCLA, they beat the shit out of them because that's what like good teams do. I think UVA is an okay team that sort of plays to who they're playing. So I do think at Cal is sneaky because I do think Cal is probably the best of those three teams that I just listed. But again, your favorites are on the road. Like maybe you think about it a little differently. They just lost to Virginia Tech, who's not great. So I'm hoping that these past 2 weeks have been a little bit of a kick in the ass. I know Chandler's shoulder's a little hurt on the other side of the body and stuff like that. And, we've been dinged up, losing Twitty and losing Ross for the UNC game, stuff like that. But I'm just hoping that these past 2 weeks have sort of been a wake-up call, being like, hey, you can't just kind of show up and, because you're a better team on paper, you're going to win the game. You obviously have to play well and execute. So hoping this has been a nice little 2-week vacation for these guys and they can kind of kick it into gear with the last 4 games of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you right there on that. I think, playoff stuff, definitely. They got to win out and win the ACC. Yeah. I think on the field, I think Chandler's shoulder is it's causing trouble. One thing I was actually more surprised about in the UNC game was the offensive line, especially with them getting healthier. And they looked, quite honestly, that was the worst performance I've seen them put out all year. And I actually wonder if it was a little bit, and Josh and I were texting about this earlier in the week. I was like, with Wilson in particular, I was like, it's the conditioning because they weren't finishing off drives. Mm-hmm. You watch in the beginning of the season, they were able to go on these 7, 8, 12-yard or 12-play drives. And in the UNC game, several times in the first half especially, they would get on the run, get early, go to the tempo. And, I mean, quite honestly, Wilson a couple times got caught with both the tackles got caught as well, where when that third or fourth time they went tempo and they were down the red zone-ish, missing blocks, bad penalties. And I was like, oh, that's a conditioning thing. That's interesting. And I was like, well, a lot of these guys have missed a lot of time. They've been rehabbing, haven't just been getting game reps. And that's a tough one. That's a tough one to fix 9 weeks into the season. There's not a lot you can do except for hope that they got enough of it last week. And, I assume an afternoon game in Berkeley is going to be pretty mild temperature. So maybe that helps out a little bit. But that was the biggest takeaway I saw as well. And hopefully they saw that as a wake-up call. It's like, hey, we got to stay a little bit focused. We got to finish off some of these drives. That was the biggest thing to me is they haven't been finishing those drives or getting field goals or getting stuck on like the 35 or the 45 and kind of in between no man's land. And those are the drives in the Florida State game where they were just able to turn it over and say, we're going to run the ball right down your throat and run inside zone and pick up a first down and just keep the sticks moving. And so
you watched the Florida State drive where they ran 13 plays and 12 of them were runs. That team is gone.
Yeah.
When you watch the UNC tape, it's a completely different offense because they can't move the ball on the ground as effectively. Even the Louisville game, they were running the ball much better than they did against UNC, which is a far inferior opponent on paper, right? So I agree with you 100% about Wilson. He looked very out of shape. I think, again, just because he hadn't played. But he got turnstile a couple of times. I was like, dude, what's going on with that? That's not good.
Yeah, there were a couple of those where I actually rewound it.
Guy is behind him. I'm like, that's bad.
Yeah.
That can't happen.
There were a couple. I had to rewind it. I was like, where did that guy come from? Because it was just – you just don't expect a nose tackle to get into the backfield that quickly and that cleanly. And I was like, oh my gosh,
I saw the exact same thing. I was like, that did not look very good at all.
That's not good for anybody.
Yeah. I think Chris there is right with his comment too about it being all about the offensive line. I didn't go back to rewatch it to get a count on this, but it really felt like more often than not, those pressures they were getting were coming from 3 and 4 man rushes. I didn't really feel like they were doing any crazy blitzes or any packages that were like giving us a fit. I mean, they were just beating us to the point. And I mean, maybe you could say some of that was some communication stuff, with Brady coming back to call signals on the line and everything. I mean, I guess that could factor in. I don't really take it that way when you have the advantage personnel wise, numbers. It's 3 versus 5 or 4 versus 5. But yeah, I mean, they were, just to say it, they were bad. I mean, it was a bad week for the offensive line. Now, I do think, a guy like Cam Ross would have really helped this situation as a shifty, quick wide receiver who you could get the ball to and he could make a play with it. But that offensive line, like it wasn't holding up at all. Like I don't think it was really. I mean, Chandler wasn't great, obviously, but like I don't think there was a lot that could have been done otherwise. Like I don't think switching him out or trying to run some exotic weird plays would have helped either. I think with that much pressure coming, it just kind of was a dogfight. I mean, it just is what it is.
Also, the last thing you want to give your hurt quarterback is no time, so that can't help. It also is affecting how they call plays. I mean, with the fact that you're 3rd and 4th and goal from the 1 yard line, you run 2 pass plays for no reason. I thought, and again, I don't know everything that's going on behind closed doors or whatever, and maybe that's what but it just seemed a little crazy that we are better than them at every position, and we're not trying to run the ball once, especially if you're going to go for it anyway. So the offensive line, I think, was a big struggle for us in that game. Obviously, the defense is the highlight of that entire thing. Special teams has been great. The kick returner, punt returner had probably the player of the game, to be honest. Definitely kind of helped us out. And I just think that against Cal, you kind of have to win in the trenches and turn it around. Otherwise, it's going to be a long day.
Yeah.
Not what I'm looking for.
You don't want to be in a track meet with Cal. They have enough weapons on their offensive side that it can ask a lot of questions of our defense that we don't want them to ask. And but you also have seen quite clearly, if you watched them play last week against Tech, they can get ripped apart in the trenches. And this is definitely one of those. I think what's interesting to me, you kind of touched on it right there, Jake, is in the third quarter with 8 minutes to go on that goal line series, if Morris completes one of those passes, it's a whole nother story in that ball game. And for whatever reason, and those are actually 3 plays, or really the line held up well for him. Those are all on Morris's arm where he just, I mean, and it's tripped a little bit coming out of the break on one, but he still should have hit him. He threw the one to the ground, which I have no idea what happened right there. But I mean, it's just, unfortunately, that's the margin of error this team has right now. Like you said, they're a good team, a good to great team at moments, but they have to take advantage of those. They score a touchdown right there to go up 7. Whole nother world.
At that point, like you win.
Yeah,
you couldn't move the ball. It's also like in overtime, they're in the same scenario. They do the direct snap to Taylor, and it's an easy walk in. I don't understand.
Well, and that's the crazy part about it is they have a play that they've run
over and over and over again
8 times this season, and so, no one can stop it. They had wrinkles off of it, and they were like, "No, we're going to run these 3 other plays instead." And it's like
you also can run Morris up the middle for like he's done that before.
He got him down there to the goal line. Like he could have stuck his nose in there.
Why they would do that twice? It blew my mind. That was the play calling. I mean, UNC also gifted us 10 points. I think people were forgetting that. Mm-hmm. Like that was probably a game that they for sure should have won. They also came up 6 inches short of winning in overtime. So the fact, again, never going to complain about a win. Probably the worst win we've had all season was that game in terms of deservedness. But again, I think this is a little kick in the ass for these guys for this Saturday. I think that they've kind of understood, all right, Washington State, maybe, okay, off a bye, a little sluggish here and there, pull it out at the end, blah, blah, blah. This UNC game has to be a wake-up call for these guys. Otherwise, the next 4 games could be 3 losses. You could be looking at an 8-4 season after starting off with playoff hopes after the first 8 games, which would be a pretty big letdown all in all for the season.
Agreed.
Yeah. I think just to kind of real quickly wrap up, I guess, with UNC, it frustrated me too as a fan, being down at the goal line like that. Just talk about that one specific drive that earlier in the season, we had these different personnel sets where we had, where they're running like a 12, but they also have 2 extra linemen. So we end up having it was 9 of the 11 players are blockers. And we're just running right through powering. To you guys' point, the direct snap has worked every single time they've run it to gain whatever they needed to gain. I mean, I feel like they could run that thing for 4th and 5 and it'd probably pick up the yard just the way it's worked, right? Like it just seems to work every single time. So for them to have come out like with an empty set, and then especially on the fourth down to even motion the running back out, like I get that the play was open and that Morris made a bad throw, but I just don't like adding that variable in of the throw, because when it goes wrong, like that's what happens. Like you lose the down. I mean, things can go sideways quick. I don't know. I just would have liked to have seen a more surefire, efficient play call. But that it just really feels like I'm kicking Des though, because he's had a great year otherwise. I mean,
Oh yeah.
we've been wonderful. This is sour grapes really
Yes.
over a win. Like we got out, we had moved on. That's what matters.
And I do think losing Twitty is a big loss for a lot of these schemes where like he was a big body that could block and catch passes, and he was a threat in both facets of the offense. But at a certain point, like you still have to sort of trust the next guy and just still do it. I mean, I just could not believe my eyes. Those were the two play calls on that.
Yeah, you got to take at least one shot with one shot at it.
I don't even mind throwing it on third, but run the ball on fourth down. Blew my mind.
One of those you got to. Yeah, you can't just go back to the same thing over and over.
Blew my mind that was two passes. I could not believe it. I'm sitting at the bar with everybody who doesn't care about this game. I'm the only person that's invested, and I'm screaming at the TV, "Run the ball! Run the ball! Run the ball!" Couldn't get over it.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, this should be the week, though, if we're going to be screaming to run the ball, that we run the ball until we can't run the ball anymore. I don't know if, most have been keeping up. California is an interesting team. They have a pretty positive freshman quarterback. He has freshman moments, but there's a lot of potential you can see with him. And they actually just came off of an overtime loss to Virginia Tech, in which Virginia Tech quarterback, Jake gave us a stat here before we started the broadcast, only completed 7 passes in the game. The entire time, it seemed like they were just running and running and running. So this is clearly a Cal defense that couldn't stop the run. I think, what did Tech end up scoring? I think it was like 42 or something total.
Yeah, 42.
34, I think it was.
34, is that what it was?
27. Is that the final?
I don't know, something of that nature. But this will be one where I think that having the multiple running backs is going to help. I personally would like to see Taylor and Whaley both get like 15 touches each, just to keep everybody fresh. But this kind of, I think, matches up well for us, like in a good spot where if Chandler's going to be a little banged up and we're going to have trouble throwing the ball, it's a team that's shown they can't really stop the run. So I think it's a good time for this.
I mean, you got a team that's giving up 151 yards a game on the ground. And this is a Virginia team that 3 weeks ago was averaging over 200 yards a game on the ground. Like, come on. There's every time to get back to what you were doing. There's no made you look so good to start the season. This is it.
It's also like with Cam Ross back, like you can run a lot of jet sweeps. You can run there should be so much ground and pound. Des can get a little creative too. Like you can really sort of mess these guys up. And then I still think Chandler can make the open throws. Like you run a couple 8-yard runs in a row, you open up that play action. Like he can still hit that 20, 25-yard pass to Trail or whoever's down there, Edgerrin. Like this should be an offensive game that kind of gets us back on track with 3 kind of, I think the toughest 3 games, I mean, since the bye for sure at the end of the season. But this has got to be a beat up game, I think, for UVA. Otherwise, it's going to be a long last 4 games.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Cal's secondary is not bad. They actually hold teams kind of in check a little bit, but part of that's also just because teams have realized let's just put the arm away and go run at them. So it's a little give and take there, but I agree, especially like you said, like having Cam back to be able to run some jet sweeps and kind of use it to stretch that defense horizontally. It's going to be able to take some of those guys out the box, which is then going to open up that downfield play. And then if you can get a couple plays downfield, and all of a sudden that secondary can't sit on guys. It's going to be like the second half or the fourth quarter of the Washington State game. That's what happened there and open up the offense. And all of a sudden they go 97 yards and 9 plays because everything's available to them. And that can be the case this entire game. If they start out right, I texted someone earlier today, like this is a game where I hope they come out and run the ball 12 of the first 18 times. I don't care what type of run play it is, but some sort of run play 12 of the first 18. Let's just see where we are.
No, I agree. 100%.
Speaking of the jet sweep sets, that's another one that I was kind of surprised we didn't really see this past weekend. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think if I'm remembering right, the Washington State game, it was like the first play that we ran was supposed to be a jet sweep to Trell Harris, and he dropped the ball, which ended up, because they did that little pop pass thing, ends up being an incompletion. But I don't think we've ran one since that. I don't know if there was like some fear caused because of the miscue on that. I don't really know for sure. I mean, I'm kind of with you guys. I'd rather, if Cam gets the ball in his hands, that's great too. But that was one that I thought would have helped last week that for whatever reason we just didn't try to bring out the bag of tricks. I don't know what that was about personally, but
I mean, the bag of tricks last week was very, very shallow. So I don't know if
yeah.
we were pulling out a lot of exciting, creative plays anyway. The touchdown Cam scored against Washington State was not a jet sweep, but it was like a reverse sort of handoff, one of those.
Yeah.
That sort of stuff I think is also like you got to start to run that against Cal a lot. Shit that's a little creative, that kind of gets the defense off their normal schedule. And again, that play went for what, 20 yards? And it was
something like that,
for 20 yards. So like stuff like that against an inferior run defense should be heavy and often.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think this is you run the ball, you run it like I said, you be creative with it. You keep that quarterback off the field, keep JKS off the field. It's the best way to just slow him down. It's going to make him press. When he presses, that's what he looks like a first year. And that's when the defense can really step up, which credit to the defense that's looked a lot better the last couple of weeks, last couple times out. They're getting good pressure. And I think, if you're forcing Cal into a situation where they can't run the ball and he's got to put the ball in the air and put it into play, he doesn't make great decisions. And so you can make him do some wonky things and probably hopefully force a turnover or two. Next thing you know, you win the middle eight and you're up, 2 scores going to the third, and you just let the line lean on him for the next, 12 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point too with the defense. Kind of curious to see how they respond, I guess, this week. So, they had a pretty good game this past week. They were lights out the entire second half for sure. First half, and it's kind of been this way for a lot of games. I feel like they've started out with a much more like softer set, not a lot of blitzes. The secondary is kind of backed off in coverage. And I understand the idea of trying to, make teams go on 10, 11, 12 play drives if possible, just give a little bit here and there. But the problem is, like, at least to me, when you play a good team, they're going to be able to do that, right? Like they have no problem taking 6 yards every time if that's what you're going to give them. So I'd kind of like to see the defense step up a little bit and maybe play tighter to start the game. I think we have a pretty good secondary. Like I feel good about those guys. I feel good about our linebackers. I think our rush has finally really turned the corner. We talked about that. Was it going to the Florida State game where we hadn't had a sack yet this year? And then ever since, they've actually been a pretty good strength for the defense. So I think they're starting to turn that. I'd like to see that mindset maybe change a little bit and kind of press a little bit more and play a little tougher, really. But that's kind of where I'm at with them.
Yeah, and like guys like Melton made like very important plays, not only in the backfield, but like interceptions. They're batting balls down. Like they have been such an improved group from the start of the season. And again, towards the end of the year, when people are getting tired, like you have to pressure the quarterback. It's the most important thing on defense is to make the quarterback make bad decisions under pressure. So the fact that they were able to do that against Gio Lopez more often than I expected, to be honest, but like that's the reason that Clary was able to pick that ball off at the end of the game. He's making these guys force bad decision throws, which is kind of what you want to do, to your point, with an 18-year-old kid. Like he's not Chandler Morris, who's 25, 26, 20, like these guys that have 4, 5, 6 years of college experience, like they're not going to make those bad decisions as much. Make the 18-year-old kid put the ball up into double coverage, into triple coverage, have Privard make a play on the ball, have these guys sort of flying around, disguise a coverage here and there, disguise a look. But you got to get to this kid early because then he'll think about it. And then from there, you can kind of settle in. But you got to get a sack on that first drive, I think, right away, set the tone, and really make this kid like, oh, I got to deal with this the rest of the day. Like you can't get into the third quarter with no sacks. I think that'll be a real issue.
Yeah. I mean, that would be a nightmare if we end up in the third quarter and they still haven't gotten to him or put a hit on him. Yeah, it's an old cliche. You blitz and you get after run quarterbacks and you play zone against the more experienced ones to try to disguise your coverage. I think it's a cliche because it's just true. You get after him, like you said, you disguise those blitzes, make him have to make decisions at the line of scrimmage. I'm pretty sure from what I've seen of him, he doesn't have a huge playbook and a lot of audibles to be able to switch in and out of stuff because he's 18. They don't trust him to do that yet. And so you can disguise some of that pre-snap movement and then get after him and hit him, put him on the ground. Even if you don't put him on the ground, put a hand on him. Just let him know you're there. Let him know that he's got to speed up a little bit. He's got to think a little bit faster. Virginia's got a couple of our lines long. It's athletic. They can get their hands up. They can bat balls down, like you said. I think just make him think. And the more he starts to overthink that game, the harder it's going to be for him. And by the time the third quarter comes around, you're up by a score or two. he's pressing and he's overthought it, and that's where you got him.
Now, you put a hand on him, it'll be roughing the passer for 15 yards, and that's how the ACC officiates nowadays. But in theory, you're 100% correct. It's just, the minute you hit him in the chest, it's flag and everything is unwrapped there. But I didn't know they changed the rules where you can't hit the quarterback at all. That was an interesting thing to learn at the UNC game.
Yeah. Well, I think didn't Virginia Tech actually got hosed on one against Cal last Friday night too? That was exact same thing. Like, very rarely will I defend Virginia Tech in anything. They got hosed on that call. I mean, that was awful.
I could not believe my eyes. The fact that it is to I guess their credit, the rule, but I genuinely, if that's roughing the passer, then the game's gone, because that is as textbook of a sack fumble as I've ever seen. And again, same deal. I'm as big of a Virginia Tech hater as there possibly could be. I was on Twitter being like, this is maybe the worst call I've ever seen.
Yeah. Yep. They got it back in the fourth quarter with that targeting call, that reverse, which was as textbook of a targeting call as I've ever seen, and got overturned somehow. So, ACC refs are going to be ACC refs, apparently.
The UNC ref and the passers too. I thought both of those were just horrific calls, and that's 30 yards of penalties that they just don't deserve. They scored on that. I think they scored on that drive, but those three calls all together, all within 24 hours, I was like, this is a joke.
Just
how we're calling football games.
Well, and then we had the other 15 yards for dabbing on the pile at the end of the play. Basically just gave them a score, but that's whatever. Hopefully the discipline hopefully is taken over for that, and it's not going to be a problem going forward. I mean, that was just headed to the max.
The one penalty they didn't call was the taunting on Trell Harris, which was the most obvious taunting of all time, which is totally fine. It didn't make, the officiating was horrific in that game.
I didn't see that play till I watched the replay the next day because I was busy doing something. I was rewatching the game on Sunday, and I was like, oh my gosh, how did that not
the most blatant textbook taunting I've ever seen?
And I'm all for taunting and all that, and I was like, oh my god, that's absurd. That didn't get him. Doesn't draw a flag.
The officiating was horrific. I mean, the fact that they even called that a touchback on UNC's touchdown that they scored, I was shocked. I thought it was, but I was shocked they called it. I just thought the reffing was abysmal on Saturday.
Yeah,
agree.
It's been rough.
Not to bitch too much about the refs. I also thought we were getting held a lot, a lot. And if I'm going to continue to go on the refs for the UNC game, if I'm in my bag right now, I tweeted this out too. Their touchdown in overtime, both tackles false. I mean, that was some of that was unbelievable. Both, maybe the entire offensive line besides the center false started on that play, and then in the 2-point conversion, the running back is just moving forward. All of that is illegal.
Yep.
So
there were so many I mean, again, we won the game. Yada yada yada. So many missed calls, so many bad calls that maybe I'm being a little over harsh on UVA's results, because maybe we should have won by a couple scores. But the reffing, to end my point, worst all year, that UNC game.
Yeah. It was a bad performance all around. Maybe that is what got the Who's out of their mind a little bit, but
in front of the tens of fans in Chapel Hill.
Yeah, all 15 of them there.
It was rough. Oh,
to a better program, it couldn't happen.
To a better coach, it couldn't happen.
Amen to that.
But I mean, to give UNC a little bit of credit, Bill has had them playing better the last couple weeks after their bye. I mean, maybe Virginia and Cal just aren't as good as we like to hope they are, because we're Virginia fans and Cal fans are Cal fans, But both games, I mean, they really could have won both. They were right there with us, and then what did they do? They dropped the ball going into the end zone against Cal, right, for the win.
UNC's had the worst 2 weeks of football I've ever seen in my life. And I'm not trying to turn this into a Carolina podcast at all, but my God, they lost 2 games within 3 inches of the goal line, a fumble and a tackle. I've never, in 40 years of watching football, I've never seen anything like that before. I mean, the fumble against Cal on the goal line,
which happened
twice either way.
Yep.
Yeah.
It happened at the beginning of the game and the end of the game. So they basically lost 14 points by a foot and a half on fumble.
Mm-hmm. It's I've never seen anything quite like it. To be honest with you. They are playing better.
In our game too. So they lost 28 points by maybe 2 feet combined.
Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, and you think of this, especially in this conference. I mean, 2 conference wins. sets you up for a whole lot better position than, in the drop 2 conference games by 24 inches, 28 inches, maybe. Essentially, it's ridiculous.
And like I give him a little bit of a little slack. Like it's a brand new staff. It's 70 new players. I mean, it's very hard to just jump in, especially with, I think, a talent pool on that team that's probably a little bit less than.
That's the problem. Yeah. I mean, that's
where it's like in the NFL, like coaching matters because all those guys are usually pretty good because it's the NFL. Like college, the talent disparity can be so big that like you can be as good of a coach as there is. And like if you don't have the bodies, like I think that was Tony's problem a little bit, was he had a Clemson offense with a high school talent pool a little bit. And he's trying to run the Clemson offense that he ran with Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne and all these T. Higgins. And he's looking around going, ooh, I don't have Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne and T. Higgins. So now that he has the bodies, obviously things are working out better. But like I'm going to give Belichick and UNC a little bit of slack for the first couple of years if he sticks around.
Yeah. I mean, the Jimmy and Joe, the comparison to LA is eerie in that sense, in that LA got players and they didn't even have to be Trevor Lawrence and 5 stars. They just need to be legitimate 3s and legitimate low 4s. And suddenly this thing turns around. It's just the way it is. It's hard to make. It's the same problem. You can go back to the Bronco era. It's the same problem. It's hard to make 2s into 3s and 3s into 4s in college football. It's especially hard to do it in the transfer portal era where these guys are coming in and out left and right. You're going to have 20, 30 bodies turnover every year. And so you kind of got to raise the floor a little bit. And it's hard to be for some of these big brain coaches like Belichick who really think I can fight. And quite frankly, he failed at it in his last 4 years in New England, trying to overthink it. And that's what's happened with that Carolina staff. Like I said, like their schemes are good or fine. They just have a really low talent pool of a bunch of 2 stars and low level 3 stars. And it just doesn't match up very well. Elliott had the same problem here in Virginia. We turned it around and are able to get players in that are of caliber, and suddenly team's 7-1. Are they world beaters? No, but they're legitimate 3s and 4s out there. And look what happens.
And like Ahmad Hawkins sent in some like I am a sky all 22 footage and stuff like that. And like there were a couple times that we just blew defensive coverage like you would not believe. And then Lopez just doesn't see it. And at a certain point, like you can be as good of a coach as there is and drop these awesome plays and all this. And like, if the guy can't read the wide open guy, like what are you supposed to do? So, again, I'll hold my tongue on UNC. I'll still, chirp them and make fun of them and all this for being bad. But like, I don't think that it's Belichick stinks as a coach because 6 games into his college career with a team that might suck legitimately as a talent roster, like, he's been doing it for a long time and he's had a lot of success. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt if he wants to actually, put his best foot forward and do it for a couple of years.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to stick around, but I guess we'll see.
I don't either, but if he does,
you won't get to see that happen. But
correct. But I think he really was like, I'm going to give it my all here, that he could turn that program around in a couple of years.
Yeah. If he wanted to invest and learn how to recruit, he definitely could. I mean, again, his biggest issue, I would say, even dating back to New England days, was he stopped learning how to assess talent.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
or
the truth.
He doesn't really want to, which is like fair enough.
Maybe he just doesn't care enough anymore.
70 years old, like you're allowed to retire. It's fine.
Yeah, right.
We won't blame you for doing that.
Yeah, that's also very true.
Yeah, he's brought a lot of it on himself. I mean, he very easily could have stepped out and nobody would have thought any of these things about him, but is what it is. Back to Virginia, though, what the people are here for, I guess. Jake, you probably don't know this, but Dragon does some sports betting for us, and he has a little blog on our forum, goes over that. So I think, what are you, right at 500 this year? Is that right?
I'm right on 500 this year, my worst year in the last 3 seasons.
Is this just Virginia betting, or is this all college football?
So it's all college football. So I'll usually pick anywhere between 7 to 10 games every week from across the landscape and do a little write-up on each one of them, over-unders, spreads, whatever makes the most sense to me. Up until the season, I've been clipping at about 60%, and then this year I'm down to 50. I'm right at 500. But I like to blame part of that on Virginia, in all honesty, just because I don't watch as much of everything else. And then also because now we're factors in the ACC, I get real superstitious about picking ACC games all of a sudden, which has never worked. I told someone last I stayed off of the Wake Forest Syracuse game last week. I stayed off of the Georgia Tech game last week. I was just like, I don't want to put any bad juju into the water. But yeah, I enjoy picking games. I'm usually pretty good at it.
I love it.
Yeah. So this week, Virginia 4.5 favorite is where the ESPN bet has it at the moment. Over unders at 53.5. So that seems pretty reasonable, I think. I don't know. I mean, I kind of feel like this is probably one where either Virginia is going to cover or they're going to lose outright. I don't really know that I think Cal's going to sneak out with a field goal victory. I think if we don't come to play, I think it's finally going to catch up to us this week. Long road trip, a team with a spark at quarterback that if he catches fire could really be a problem. And a team that, I mean, they have a decent record. Like, they haven't been terrible all year. They did get blown out by San Diego State, but San Diego State's like 6-1. I mean, they're pretty good too in their own right. So I do feel like this is a game that I think Virginia should be able to, like you were saying, Dragon, win the middle 8 and then lean on them the second half and maybe hopefully win this thing by 10 or so. I feel like feels probably safe. But again, don't want to be too superstitious on that. I don't want to say they're going to win a close one because I feel like if they stay too close, it might finally catch up to them.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I feel like this week to me, I've had a couple people in the forum asking about it. I'm like, I think this week Vegas has finally caught up to Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like outside of having them as dogs against Florida State and Louisville, for the most part, the Hoos who've gone around have been two score favorites. I think of every game from Virginia's, except for Louisville, Florida State, NC State, the only time they were dogs, and everything else they've been two score favorites all year. And that was even going into see last week, and I kind of got it, but you can just see any one of us who watched these games and saw what's been happening. You just knew like 17.5 points against Washington State. Like, that's a big score to cover. That's Indiana and UCLA. Like, you can have a great game and not cover 17.5. Same thing, covering, I think, 10.5 on the road against a rival. That's a lot to ask. And so I feel like this week, I saw some rumors this line open up at 6.5. I never actually saw it at 6. I've seen it hovering at about 4.5 and 4 all week. That actually feels the most appropriate one, and it might be one of the first times that I might go with Virginia and actually take them as a favorite, because I haven't done that, and I haven't taken Virginia in a month now. I don't think I've taken them since the Florida State game, to be honest with you. And I had them there just to cover as a dog. So, yeah, I like this line. I think I'm with you. I think this is a game, if they win it, they're going to win it outright. They're going to win it, 28-21, something like that. It's going to be a one-score game, and if it gets to be close, I just feel like this is, at some point, it's like the Final Four run. At some point, the magic has to run out. and I would rather run out now and get it out the way, if that's the case. And then we can go ahead and focus on the final 3. But yeah, I like that line at Virginia -4.
Yeah, I'm a big the line usually tells you what's going to happen guy. I have expected this to be Cal -2.5, if I'm being completely honest with you. This feels like a game where you kind of scroll through the slate and you see that Virginia logo with the 15 next to it, and you see Cal with no number and their favorites, and you go, okay, well, I have to take Cal at that point. So I'm actually pleasantly surprised and very, very optimistic that is a UVA -4.5 line. Because, again, if that was a Cal -1.5, like, that's an easy loss for UVA. That's an
I mean, I think if Cal wins last week, I wouldn't be shocked at all if you saw that line. I'm with you 100%.
That is what I half expected it to be when it first came out, was like Cal by a slight margin. So the fact that it's still UVA by basically a touchdown at that point, because they're on the road, is pretty optimistic for me. But like, I look at these games sometimes, like when Duke was a 1.5 favorite over Georgia Tech, like it was the easiest Duke bet ever. And I stand by that game. And I'm sure you took the same thing. Like, Duke should win that game by 17 points. The fact that they lost by 2 scores, 3 scores, whatever it was, like, they were in full control of that game from start to finish. They basically gifted 10 points to Georgia Tech in the first half. But the line for me usually tells you kind of what's going to happen. Obviously, dogs went out right here and there. But like for this game, I think UVA being 4.5-point favorites speaks to us, having a pretty decent chance of handling this game pretty easily.
Yeah, no, I love that philosophy. I'm with you 100%. Like I said, it feels like Vegas was finally honed in on Virginia the right way, and they're actually paying attention. Yeah, which is, like, to your point, is accurate enough. I'm like, oh, there's something here that they're that accurate, and not just kind of looking at the record, looking at the stats, looking at the numbers, and be like, oh, well, they put up 500 yards a game. Of course, it should be a 3-touchdown favorite. When it's like, what have they done against the FBS team to show you that they're a 3-touchdown favorite against anyone? So. Yeah, I like it. I do. It feels good. Cal at noon game, a 1 o'clock kickoff, I guess that is for them, or 12:45 kickoff. I don't expect, that's not a raucous place to play. There's no weird ACC at night action happening.
Thank fucking God, by the way, because I was half
Oh, yeah.
worried. I mean, I know we have a 7 o'clock against Wake at home, which like I don't mind playing a night at home. But
Yeah.
I mean, I think Jackie Franchuli tweeted out that like we couldn't have had a 10 o'clock kick because of some ACC rule because there's no bye week or whatever.
Right. There's no bye week or whatever. Yeah.
I didn't know that before, and I figured they were going to stick us in the 10:30 slot, and we were going to be screwed because that would have been a disaster.
I've been saying it all season on this podcast.
100%.
Like, I was like, we're playing at 10:30. Like,
If they put us at Duke, if they put us at 7:30, like it's over. Like we're it can't be a night game on the road the rest of the year. Otherwise, like that's an auto. Like just chalk it up as an auto loss.
Yeah,
I need
don't give me a night game and don't give me another weeknight game.
I need a noon kick on the road in Berkeley, which I got, and I need a noon kick on the road in Durham, which I hopefully will get. So those are the two things that I'm begging for, because anything after 6 o'clock at night, like that is a scary thought. But I'd love a 7 o'clock for Tech. I would love that.
Yeah.
Give me a night game for that one. I actually wanted a day game. I wanted a 3:30 game for Wake just because I'm coming in town for it, and I didn't really want to wait for a night game. But I will take a night game, gratefully.
Let me ask you both a question. So I have a thing where whenever I go to the game, we kind of get our asses kicked. And I'm debating going to the Wake game if we win this game against Cal. I'm happy to stand down if that is, in fact, we literally lose every single time I go. But I also don't want to be the guy that had this magical season with UVA football that we may not see again and have not gone to anything.
You meet me in Boylan's, I'll buy you 2 beers and a shot beforehand.
Yep.
You stay at Boylan's, I'll come meet you after the game.
I'll be front and center on the hill causing a scene and getting the boys rowdy and ready to go. It's more of a fact of like, is my presence enough for it to be blamed on me if we are to lose? Because if it is, then I will stay home, believe me. But if that is if that's approved by the group, then I might buy some flights to Charlottesville, pending how this game goes on Saturday.
No, I'll tell you, I used to believe in all that. And actually, I was sitting right behind the basket about 10 rows up in Charlotte when we got beat by UMBC. And it felt like I was a generational curse because at that point, like I'd never seen them beat Tech. I hadn't seen them win a lot of football games, to be completely honest. Yeah. For some reason, it seemed like every time I went to a baseball game, they lost. Like it never seemed like it was going my way, right? I mean, obviously, basketball regular seasons were fun, but it never felt like when it mattered, anything good was going to happen. So then I don't know if I can take full credit for this, but I feel like I broke a generational curse by going to the Final Four and we won. So ever since that, I have not believed in any of that type of crap anymore. Like Virginia Tech could suck at that year. We beat them. That was great. Like everything was so good. Yeah. And ever since that, I've kind of backed off the superstitious thing. I don't want to call it the gods of that type of stuff, but like I haven't believed in that in a while. So, I mean, to me, if this season is as magical as it feels like it is, I don't think it's going to make a difference, man, if you're there or not. Like, I think you should go for it.
I mean, listen, if we beat Cal on Saturday, you guys might see me in Charlottesville for the Wake game for about 12 hours, and then I'll be back to Tampa the day after. But I feel like I got to go to one of these games if we're going to keep this.
I'm telling you, I'm in Atlanta. I'm flying up for the Wake game just because I was like, I have to go through a game every year. It just worked out. I had no idea when I picked this game 3 months ago that this was going to be it. And then once it happened, I was like, me, Fresh is coming into town. A couple of the boys were all coming up for it. And we're like, yeah.
Right? Like, he can't be the guy that sat at home all year while they've won 11. Like, I can't be that guy. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I was like, it's the best. I've waited. I haven't seen a season like this since I was 8 years old, and we went on a run in 90 or whatever it was. Like,
also, sneaky. Who does Wake play this Saturday?
Wake play Florida State.
Okay, so sneaky. We both win those games. Are we talking game day? Maybe.
Yeah. So that's where I was.
I think that's why he flips it to 8 to 7.
I mean, I know Texas Tech BYU is that day.
Yeah.
It is a noon kick.
Yep.
And Texas Tech doesn't have a quarterback. So does that maybe – we've never had it. So spitball,
right.
maybe. That could be pretty cool.
So this week, same time as we play, 3:30, Texas Tech on the road at Kansas State. Betting line on that, if you know the way you follow it, Texas Tech is a 7.5-point favorite. But stranger things have happened, especially when you're missing your quarterback. So we'll see what happens. It's definitely worth – I mean, for me, I'll probably be like when we go to commercial, flipping over to see what's going on there every so often, in between getting drinks and watching the game. But yeah, that's the one to watch. I think you're right. I think that's the game that if they were to catch a loss or both us and Wake Forest win, even there's a chance that they show up for us. I don't think it's ruled out. I think we're right there in that prime spot for it. And I think that 7 p.m. slot kind of gives a little hint to that too. I think you're right.
Yeah.
And I mean, you kind of look at the top, teams that are above us in the rankings, and like there's a chance UVA, let's say we win that game, like there's a chance we bump up to like a 12. Which you got top 12 team in the country and hosting a Wake Forest team that just beat SMU and they're kind of rolling. Like it's not out of the realm of possibility that game day is in Charleston.
It definitely is. And like they want to go to every school at some point. They've never been to Charleston. We've never had that opportunity. I want to say they've just done a game out in the Midwest in the Texas area before, so there's a little bit of that there already. Yeah, I mean, I took that 7 p.m. kick when they announced that as they're at least clearing the runway, and we'll see if they put the planes on it or not. But they're at least getting ready for it, and nothing would make me happier than to go strolling on the lawn at 6 a.m. for game day and give Pat McAfee a piece of my mind. And so,
is that what that would be? Would they put it on the lawn?
I don't think there's jokes about it. I don't think that the school would actually let them. I don't even know if it would be actually a good venue, to be honest. I think aesthetically it would look nice, but I don't know logistically.
Where else do you think they're going to do it?
Like, could you do a college game day on like Mad Bowl? Would that be weird to do?
Oh, that'd be sick.
You know what I mean? Because also, I believe next Saturday is 4th year, 5th.
Yeah,
so
it is.
Have every kid absolutely sauced on Mad Bowl with college game day.
You can't put it on Mad Bowl. Just right. Can't do
that. You can't.
Right? Do that. That's not good for anybody.
I wonder where they would put it though, because
this is where my philosophy we should bulldoze the aquatic center and move that out and expand our entire football facility. This is where we'll play at hand because we will have a nice studio to host game day. Just saying. A lot of people get upset when I throw that out there. So apparently our swimming team's great. But I'm just saying we can just move it. That's all.
I definitely have thought about like where they would put that if they were to come, because like around the stadium, there's not like a ton of.
There's not really a good area. Yeah, it's not a good area. Right.
You want to do the McAfee like kick thing? Like, where's that going to go? Like all that stuff. So I have no idea where that would get set up.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I mean, the lawn would be amazing for the look. I just don't think it's so narrow that they just wouldn't have to. There's no way you could do all the setup for it.
I think they could. I mean, they do graduation, right? Like they can do it.
Yeah, you could, in theory, put the stage like right in front of the rotunda and have everybody just kind of file in.
Right, have everyone just go straight back. Yeah, I mean, kind of maybe even do some sections, have like McAfee's thing in the middle or whatever.
God,
I mean, you could do it for sure.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah. How exciting is that too? Like we already got the image from the field storming with Florida State. Like to have that scene as well this year, like it would just really put icing on it. I mean, for where we're at.
It'd be awesome. I mean, I think that would really cap off the year to have like some national recognition finally for a program that's kind of been begging for 4 or 5 years since that 2019 season. But yeah, I mean, they're just going to keep going to Georgia and Vandy and Ole Miss and then rotate the SEC around. Like, UVA being in that group, especially in a year where it feels like the SEC is getting the biggest pat on the back from ESPN, would be pretty cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, because I'm down here in SEC territory, and I love the fact they come to Athens all the time. But yeah, how many times can you go to Athens? How many times can you go to Starkville and Oxford? They camp out in Austin already. Like they've done this. So we've already had Vandy on there. We've already had, Tuscaloosa was their home.
If UVA pulls out another crazy win on Saturday, like that's kind of the story of the year. A little bit is like this team that sucked for hadn't made a bowl game for 3 straight years or whatever it was, 4 straight years, is 8-1. And is like looking at a playoff spot potentially and looking at a conference championship. Like you got to that's got to get talked about a little bit. Right?
It's got to be. Yeah. I mean, this is a program, even if you take out the 19 season, it has essentially been a doormat for the conference
for 20 years.
Yeah. More than, mid-90s was the last time they were perennial actual contenders for the conference, you could say. I mean, 98 was probably the last time. And, again, they've had some sparks, 03, 19, stuff like that. But, I mean, this is a resurrection of a program that we haven't seen. It doesn't have the ending of the story necessarily of what Indiana has, but it's not far off of what we saw at Indiana in terms of just going from nothing to amazing in just a few short weeks. And Yeah, I mean, we're talking about potentially going into a game, attending a game where they have 8 wins, where any one of us would have given our left leg to get 8 wins in August.
Yep.
By hook or by crook. We would have been like, I don't care how you get there. You get to 8? Holy cow. And now we're like, yeah.
I was begging for 6. I was hoping we would get 6. I haven't seen 6 in quite some time.
Yeah, I mean, I had them at, I think over under 6.5. And I took the over just barely. I was like, I think they can get to 7.
Right. I had 8. 8 and 4 was my number.
Yeah.
Which is still very much on the table, by the way. Like, that is not out of the realm of possibility, but like the fact that 11 and 1 is on the table is crazy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's just the way that it all breaks out. Like, you told me that they survive NC State on the road, which she didn't, but it's fair enough. That whole Florida State Louisville thing, like, that definitely seemed that it was going to be 0-2. Like, I assumed that they were going to be a 2-win team by the midway point of October. And then it was going to be like, let's see if we can scrap and beat a Duke, maybe beat a Wake Forest, cobble it together, Washington State, and maybe get to 6 or 7 when it all, drive or 7 against, Virginia Tech or something. But here we are.
Yeah, man. I mean, we're talking about the playoff. And like it's like a reality. That's the craziest thing about it. Like I've been saying that for a couple of weeks where I'm like, damn, like UVA football could make the playoff.
Yeah.
And it's not it's not that crazy of a thought.
No, it's the coolest thing to me is, I listen to all these different podcasts, national broadcasts all week, every week, and I always have. And Virginia comes up now weekly. Because when they talk about the playoffs, they're like, it's one of those teams. It's you got your 5 SECs and your 3 or 4 Big Tens, and then it's like, oh, ACC, Georgia Tech, Miami, Virginia, Georgia Tech, Miami, Virginia, Georgia, and it's like they get talked about. Their games are getting talked about on national football podcasts.
Yep.
Yeah, which has never happened in my life of doing this sort of broadcasting ever, because they've never had anything to talk about unless it was bad.
I also don't understand, and maybe you guys know better than I do. I also talked about this online. I've been diving into the ESPN FPIs quite a bit just because of UVA's success. I don't understand how Miami can have the second highest chance to win the ACC championship. So if either of you understand that, tell me, because I can't wrap my brain around that. When ESPN has UVA projected at 10 wins, which would be one more loss. So I don't really understand how a 1-loss UVA team who will, I think, don't we automatically get in over you unless we lose to who? No, because Duke has 1 ACC loss, Georgia Tech. So if we lose to Duke only, would they get in over us? I don't really understand how any of it works, but I don't understand how Miami, who has the loss to Louisville, who then loses to us, could have by far and away the second best chance to make the ACC champ. So maybe you guys don't know the answer, but it's been driving me crazy for about a week. I haven't been thinking about it because it doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, I think if it ended up in like everybody's tied except for Georgia Tech, I think it goes by record amongst the tied teams at that point, right? Like if you played each other. And then if you don't have a tiebreaker from there, it goes to the top. How did you do it against the team that beat you or the team that finished in first? And then from there, I think it goes like, okay, if that's still tied, then they start going down the list of like, okay, who's next in line below? So yeah, I'm with you. I don't understand because to me, it seems like the Louisville win is like the biggest tiebreaker of all, right? Like as long as Louisville keeps winning, I feel like we kind of have the cards as long as we have more than one game.
Right.
When just looking at it real quick, it's a little like I didn't even realize that Pitt snuck themselves into this conversation as well. But Pitt's 1 loss, it's to Louisville.
Yep.
And so
that kid, Mason Heinschel, is a dog, like a serious dog. I'm so glad we're not playing that team. Like they are playing such good football. That kid is unbelievable.
That's a team that turned around its fortunes about 3 weeks into the season. And
good God, that kid is unbelievable.
Remember, they had Louisville on the ropes too. I think it was like 24-0 at one point or something. I mean, they were up big on them.
Like that team plays Georgia Tech and they play Miami at home to end the year. Like that, they could sneaky win both of those games. I'm actually selfishly, I think UVA is rooting for Georgia Tech to win out. Correct?
It clears the path the most for them, I would say, and it works out. But it's a great matchup for them.
Just Georgia Tech and UVA to both just win out, and that's that. I think if Georgia Tech loses a game, then things get a little weird.
Is that who you want to see
Yeah,
the
well,
most?
yeah, because unless they lose it to like Stanford, which I don't know if that makes it weirder or less weirder, but yeah, anything else
Of the three teams that could possibly make the ACC championship game, I would love to play Georgia Tech the most, like by far and away.
Yeah,
I would rather see Miami than Louisville personally.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Louisville probably would beat us if we played them again on a neutral field. But yeah, Georgia Tech by far and away is the team I would love to see in the ACC championship game. I think that's the most winnable of the three games.
Yeah, Georgia Tech's definitely a winnable game. They've come back down to earth quite a bit this season. I mean, they've never really took off, to be honest. I mean, their marquee win, they're living off that Clemson win, which doesn't.
They're us. They're just finding ways to win these. Again,
yeah.
They're going to lose to Duke by 17 points.
Yeah, I mean, a Duke game was close. They handled a bad Vatech team, snuck out one against Wake Forest,
lost to Wake Forest, but mind you, like they should, like that's a loss. The refereeing in that game.
That's right. That was that game.
They lost that game, and like that win was stolen from Wake Forest. So that team is a very beatable team. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they are. Yeah, they don't have really any impressive, again, because that Clemson game isn't nearly as impressive as it feels. On the road against Colorado week 1, they haven't done that much. And then their schedule is pretty, they go 2 NC State this week, 2 Boston College. You got Pitt coming down here to the Flats, and then they finish up with Georgia.
That Pitt team is sneaky season ruiner for one of those teams at the end of the year. Miami or Georgia Tech, they'll catch one of those teams for sure, if not both. I'll stamp that right now. That Pitt team could be both those teams.
Yeah. There's one kind of sneaky one too, though.
You got to send Miami to Pittsburgh in late November. Those boys from Florida got to go to Pittsburgh.
That's one of those ones where it could be a little bit of snow on the ground almost. You never know in Pittsburgh at that time of year. You get that weird wind coming off the river.
That could be a very much Miami's November. Oh, Christ. We lost to Pitt to end the season. Like, that's you're out of the playoff type of loss too. Like that, I'm telling you, that Pitt team is a problem.
Yeah, I mean, Carson Beck he forgot to play football again apparently the last 2 weeks. But
yeah, well they've got a kind of tough one this week, so they go to SMU this week, and I didn't realize this. SMU only has 1 conference loss.
Yep.
So I don't know how many different scenarios it would take to get them there, but they kind of control themselves because they get Miami at home and they get Louisville at home.
Yeah, they get Louisville. Yeah, and they'll have
So, I mean, they'd absolutely have to earn it. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But, I'm not saying I think they will, but that's a team that could sneak in and ruin it for somebody too.
Can I say something crazy if you guys don't mind?
Yeah.
Would be quite hilarious. And I'm not saying that I want this to happen or anything. Obviously, would be funny. Would be very funny if we win out and then can make the ACC championship game and it's against Virginia Tech we can still lose that game and make the ACC championship game. That's my worst nightmare. Like legitimately, genuinely, my worst nightmare because that is such a loss if that is the scenario where UVA nobody's lost to Virginia Tech and that's the game that we can lose because there's no tiebreak implications. Yada yada yada. That is a 30-point loss for UVA if that's the scenario.
Yeah, I mean,
Is it one where, I mean, would you even consider sitting Chandler? Like, if he's still as banged up as he's been, like, is that a spot where you would consider it if everything's locked up?
I would say yes if they hadn't beaten us 20 times out of the last 21. Yeah. But no, you have to win that game. You have to try and win that game.
You cannot sit. I'll give you a quick story. I've played rugby for the USA Eagles. One of the biggest insults I've ever seen was in the World Cup when we set our starters against South Africa, knowing that South Africa was going to blow us out. And they set the starters. They're like, oh, we're going to hopefully win against Italy the following week for the last game. But it didn't matter for the overall record of the tournament. We were still going to be out in the pool stages. It is still to this day one of the biggest insults I've ever seen. The fact that we did not put our best team out against the former world champs. It's the same thing. It's Vatech. It is your biggest rival.
You gotta try and win.
To your point, Jake, this is a rival that has beat you 23 out of the last 25 times or whatever it is. You cannot sit Morris.
No.
I mean, if you sit him through all this, like I said before, like you just can't. He has to play that game. If you want to sit him in the Duke game, let him get 2 weeks before Tech. But don't sit him.
Now again, if he's like physically unable to play, fine.
Fair enough.
But right, if it's like, hey, like let's give our boy a couple weeks before we go play the ACC championship game, like no, you got to play.
Yeah,
You
no,
got
yeah,
the team.
yeah. I mean, that's the thing too. Like, I mean, you get it. Like, it's an AC problem. If he 2 weeks is going to magically make that shoulder heal back together to go to Charlotte, and he's going to be dropping for 400 yards. So I'd rather
It's
than trot him
also
out there.
imagine the scenario of you sit Chandler Morris, you lose to Tech, and then you go get your shit kicked in by one of these teams.
Bingo.
Like, you can't do that shit. You
Bingo.
know what I mean?
It kills all the goodwill for this season. It kills
Yeah.
all of it right there.
And that's the most depressing 10-2 conference championship season of all time. That's how that ends.
Exactly. It's a 10-2 season and everyone's still
You can't
bags
do
on. You lost
There's
the wrong
no
season.
scenario do you do that.
Yeah.
I think that's probably right, though. Like, I do kind of agree. I don't know about all the way to the championship, but I have had this feeling for a couple weeks now that whatever our maximum potential is this year, be it playoff, be it just playing in the ACC championship, hell, be it the Pop-Tart Bowl, that whatever it is, it's going to come down to having to beat Tech. Like, I think that's spot on. The whole season's going to come down to it. No matter what our actual potential is, that's where it's going to draw the line right there.
And they're going to have the opportunity to ruin our year.
Yep.
And we're going to have the opportunity to basically beat them on the way to one of our best seasons ever. So, like, that's going to be the fun storyline, yada, yada, yada. Like, you got to win. You got to beat them.
Yeah.
You have to.
But that's what makes it kind of fun, though. I mean, this is
100%.
Ohio State, Michigan. This is what Ohio State lives with. Ryan Day is one game away from being fired despite being a national championship winning coach because he keeps losing the wrong game at the end of the year.
Yep. Look at James Franklin. I mean, he was in
James Franklin got
in
fired. He lost
the
the wrong
semis
game
last
every
year,
year.
right? Like, he was right there.
Yeah.
James Franklin gets a little too much credit for being right there. I'm going to be honest. Go look at that Big Ten record. I was shocked at how bad it was, to be quite honest.
Because he can't beat the right teams at the right time.
He keeps getting scheduled in Ohio State, Michigan, and Oregon for some reason. I don't know if it's all his fault, you know?
People like to act like he lost 2 games every year to conference opponents. That record was a lot worse than I thought it was in the Big Ten. I'll be honest with you. So I'm not as surprised with the whole get rid of James Franklin thing after looking into the numbers a little bit better. I legit thought he lost to Ohio State every year, and everyone was like, get rid of him, get him out, get him out. He was losing
his problem. It's always Ohio State and like one other one. It's always
Right.
Ohio State, Michigan +1. That's the problem. It's like that Wisconsin game he drops every year, or
Go look at that Big Ten record. It was not very good. I was like, oh, okay, that actually makes a lot more sense. They got rid of him.
But I mean, and this is a guy who I defend even less. But I mean, Brian Kelly got the same thing. Brian Kelly lost the wrong game. He was 34-14 or whatever it was.
Yep.
He stuck out like a bad thumb the entire time he was down there. Didn't deserve to be there in LSU, but he lost the wrong games at the wrong time. And then if you get on the streak, a la James Franklin losing 3 games in a row or Kelly losing 2 in a row, suddenly all those guys have been waiting for you for this moment. Capitalize on it, and you're out. For better or for worse, that's the environment we work in now.
They can dry their tears with their $50 million, so I don't feel terribly bad for them. But
I will never feel bad for Brian Kelly.
They got the best gig in sports. It's the best job maybe of all time.
Best job on the planet, yeah.
Fired Power 4 football coach might be the best job on the entire face of the earth.
They should all be like Ed Ogeron when they told him you're going to fire him and he's going to get
There
17
is
million.
the door.
He said, which door do I walk out of?
Where am I leaving from? My God.
I got to get to Destin. I got to go.
I take cash or check, preferably in big bills.
I'm the swamp rat and I got to go. And I'm like, that's the exact attitude. And that's, people talk about Franklin going to Vatech. I'm like, he could, but he can also just sit at home with $53 million and wait for any job he wants. And why wouldn't he?
Virginia Tech fans thinking they're going to get James Franklin when they're going to end up with some coordinator that no one's ever heard of is the funniest thing that's ever going to happen.
Their best bet's Silverfield. I stand by that, but they won't do it because of Fuente.
I agree with that.
Bingo all around. Yeah.
But at least as Virginia fans, hey, we don't have to deal with this, right? Like, thank goodness we've had a good year. Everything seems like it's going to shake out. I don't think there's anything at this point that puts the coaches in danger this year. I think at this point they're playing for how much money are they going to get, truthfully. I think that's kind of the game we're playing now. So it's exciting. It's good times for us. Who's will be in action? 3:45 on Saturday. Like I said, 3:30 is the big game that we're looking at with Kansas State, Texas Tech. Anybody that hopes for College game day, keep an eye out on that too. Do you guys have anything else? Jake, I didn't mean to run over time, man. I mean, I hope it's okay.
Oh, I got nowhere to be. Listen, it's Tuesday night. I'm talking about something that I care about probably the most in the entire world besides my parents and my dog. So I'm feeling good. I'm happy to be here. And whenever you guys want me to come back, I'm happy to come back.
Awesome. Appreciate it, brother.
We appreciate that, man.
I'll see you in a week or so in Charlottesville.
Be
Absolutely.
great. Look forward to it. Well, we will sign off on that. Remember, 3:45 ESPN2. Check back with us next week. Hopefully, we'll be discussing another big win and maybe a college game day.